So I'm hearing about this George Floyd Justice and Policing Act of 2020 bill that's already passed in the House. And I don't know. I mean, the way how I'm looking at the bill as I'm speaking, and I'm looking at it in detail. Now, supposedly this bill that Congress is trying to enact, um, it's literally about accountability and policing practices. But I'm willing to bet this is probably going to cause ramifications, not just to the not just to law enforcement, not just to the American police officer, but it's also going to cause a lot of ramifications in most communities that are high crime. You know, especially if you happen to be, like me, predominantly black, and you live in a high crime area. So literally, it's and the way how I see it now, they're talking about this. They state that this bill is supposedly going to lower the criminal intent standard to, from willful to knowing of to like reckless. And this is also, not only that, it's also going to convict a police officer for misconduct in a federal prosecution. And I think I think last year, during the Trump presidency, we've already had police reform. So I don't see the problem with that part. The second thing, it says it's supposed to limit qualified immunity as a defense to liability in a private civil action suit against a cop or a correctional officer, and is supposed to authorize the Department of Justice to issue subpoenas in investigation of police departments for a pattern of practice of discrimination. Now, that last part I just mentioned, regarding about a pattern of practice for discrimination, I'm guessing this is talking about people who are supposedly DWB. If you do not know what that means, it means driving while black. Or if you're an individual that's just walking home late at night, you know, and literally, you know, you're going home minding your own business, not doing anything wrong, and you get stopped by the cops for WWB. If you do not know what that means, it means walking while black. Now, I will say this. I've had numerous, like I said several times on this channel, I've had numerous police encounters before. And how many times has it gotten under control? Zero. Because literally, I know how to, I know how to act. And I'm gonna, I'm gonna say this: when it came to this bill that was introduced, you know how much Republican support it's gotten? None. And if I remember correctly, there was one, uh, re- there was one Republican in Congress that literally slammed the bill. So, oh yeah, that congresswoman who literally stated about who literally lambasted the bill. Her name her name happens to be um, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Literally, she lambasted the bill, which I particularly don't blame her on doing that because she basically, in other words, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congressman Green basically lambasted the bill, stating that this is talking about, you know, literally, she said that this is that this is talking about how the Democrats are doing this in the name of racial justice, but literally it's talking about this whole getting rid of the police force. It's literally talking about defunding the police in that behalf. So, in other words, she is literally telling the truth right here. This is nothing more than an anti-police bill, uh, and literally, this is all about trying to trying to punish the American police officer, um, all while letting criminals getting away with all kinds of crap. And and here's the killer. You know, a lot of people don't want to see the police get defunded. I mean, if you were to defund the police, then that'll be retarded in all caps. I mean, she even, Green also stated that literally called out the Democrats on this behalf because during the George Floyd riots, I'm not calling them protests at all. They are riots. Literally, literally, Democrats haven't lifted a finger in regarding of like this whole rigmarole, what they want to pass. Because in the end, if you also really look at it, when everybody was protesting and shouting defund the police, um, literally Democrats did not lift a finger on that too. Hell, you had that beta male simp of a mayor out in Minneapolis, literally caved into the what the crowd was saying. So because if he because had he did not do that, they would not, the citizens of Minneapolis would not vote him back in. So the thought of having an anti-police society is going to cause some serious ramifications. Hell, over here in Madison, Wisconsin, we have a mayor by the Mayor Satchel Rhodes Conway here in Madison. She obviously is against. Um, she's literally nothing more than a anti-police politician, because the last police chief, the previous police chief we had, when she immediately got, you know, took office, uh, she forced him to retire. And not only that, she also made some cuts to the police department. And here's the killer: the rise of, I mean, here in Madison, Wisconsin, the rise of crime has gotten heavy. And it's like, and I'm gonna just say this right here, right now. I mean, the big problem with law enforcement nowadays is this. You know, while I am a strong supporter and strong advocate for law enforcement, I support the police for one thing, but the biggest problem that they face is that they can barely enforce the laws as is. Hell, police departments are police agencies all around the country are having a really rough time right now. You know, officer. I mean, a lot of police officers are either getting furloughed or because now everyone wants to push this defund the police BS down in our freaking faces. They are literally either quitting the force or getting furloughed, and that's a really bad sign. So the thought of having this bill being, you know, I hope to God it does not pass into law. Because if it does pass into law, it's going to be a lot of ramifications to the American police officer. And that is what a, and that is definitely when even if they're even if the criminal act, I mean the use of force act, I mean of an incident happens to be justified. Um, like say for instance, like the officer involved shooting of Rayshard Brooks. I talked about this back in early June, if I remember correctly. I mean that you know the cops still you know got disciplinary action, but the the officer involved shooting that took his life. Unfortunately, he lost his life, but the act was justified. So, and but and then I'm gonna also say this right here. I'm also tired of having people like George Floyd being honored as martyrs, when in reality he made he made some bad decisions. Unfortunately, he lost his life, but you should. But what about all the victims, of gun violence over in many of our inner city areas, especially in Chicago and Baltimore, and even St. Louis? That's something to think about. I mean, and it's literally in every Democrat-run shithole that I can tell you that there's a lot of crime going on. And literally, if you try to push this bill forward and it becomes the law, that's going to be a big problem. I'm Chuck Johnson, a.k.a. Kid Thunder. I'm signing off. You guys have a wonderful night.